Hi everyone, we got an update from the UK, from Brazil, where this is. It really doesn't sound good over there at the moment, because following a disastrous and disputed general election in which she could not secure a democratic mandate, the United Kingdom's increasingly unpopular authoritarian leader Theresa May has resorted to sidestepping the constitution to protect her deeply corrupt and weakening regime. Yes, of course, I've talked about this, how she can't even command a majority. She's had to bribe the DUP, which is a far-right party that doesn't believe that the dinosaurs existed, into forming her government, and she also her government was found in contempt of Parliament in December, as I reported. This regime is falling apart. A massive bribery scheme to buy off the loyalty of far-right Northern Irish lawmakers and the support of pariah state Saudi Arabia are now all that keep the embattled autocrat in her Downing Street base, and there she is, flanked by the loyal security forces, or city police, I think they call them. The UK Prime Minister, who styles herself on 1980s predecessor and ally of murderous Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet, Margaret Thatcher, seized power in the aftermath of her party's referendum on European Union membership, which opposition groups alleged was rigged and neighbouring states declared illegitimate. Yes, the states have declared illegitimate. Campaign finance laws were broken, and there were all sorts of allegations of bribery. Was not good. Apparently London is the most corrupt city in the world. So give you some idea. There's the leader, their previous leader, Margaret Thatcher, in the 80s, with her ideological ally, Pinochet. Previously Home Secretary, the hardline Theresa May, who came into politics on a fierce anti-homosexuality platform, drew international condemnation with her order for the UK's vast and sinister intelligence services to begin warrantless mass surveillance of opposition groups and activists, as well as her police forces' violent repression of peaceful opposition protesters. We've seen that with the people losing fingers, etc., in the yellow vest protests, and the violent way the police are fighting back against people on the streets of London. And of course I've reported how the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, who are sort of they're the people who are attached to the regime that do foreign policy, are funding this shady organisation called the Integrity Initiative to smear Jeremy Corbyn and her opposition. It's really quite Orwellian what's going on there at the moment. A collapsing currency, and we've seen how it's lost, I think, 25–30% of its value since the referendum. And flight of foreign companies from the UK has left her party's reputation as competent economic managers in tatters. Yet May refuses to relax her extremist free night ideology, even as widespread hunger grips the country and forces millions into reliance on food banks for the basic needs. Of course, the food bank use has gone up. I think there were only 160 food banks in 2009, and now there are well over 2,000. And of course, there was the recent UN rapporteur's report that said that 20% of the country is actually in poverty, and called their benefit system universal credit actually universal discredit. He was that disgusted with it. But this is what the May regime are doing to the people. We can't stand by and let this happen. I mean, look at the queues outside the food bank. A recent spate of racist police killings of unarmed young people in custody, such as Edson DaCosta, the poor man, Rashan Charles, that poor man, was meant with the largest anti-government riots since 2011, leaving regime capital London burning against the backdrop of the worst poverty and inequality it has known since World War II. It's actually, I think, worse than that now. I think it goes back to the worst poverty since the Peasants' Revolt. It's a terrible situation the country's in. We've got to do something's got to be done to change this, surely. Opposition activists who did not wish to be named for fear of the police told our reporter that the mood in in parts of the country was in favour of Russian military intervention to help stabilise the island state. Their fears of reprisal are stoked with each extradition of a colleague to face certain torture in the dungeons of Donald Trump's United States. And of course, they've got him at the moment surrounded and detained in talking about Julian Assange, the great hero for free speech and a free press in the UK, and he's arbitrarily detained in the dungeon in the basement of the Ecuadorian embassy. In America have done a deal with Ecuador to get him Ecuador to get him out. It's all to do with an oil deal, and I think it was ExxonMobil. It's terrible, the level of corruption that's going on there. I mean, if they get their hands on Julian Assange, it's all over for a free press in the United Kingdom, I'm afraid. Despite a fierce campaign of defamation and censorship in loyalist and state-controlled media, opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn's popularity continues to rise amongst the young, with some even calling him a de facto Prime Minister. Yes, I've covered the press treatment of him, how they were labelling him a commie spy, even though, I mean, Russia hasn't been a communist country for nearly 30 years. And obviously there's been a lot of people calling on Donald Trump to actually recognise him as the Prime Minister and get rid of Theresa May's terrible regime. There's Jeremy Corbyn in front of those massive opposition crowds over there in the UK at the moment. Opposition civil society groups and the international community are demanding May step down to avoid further unrest and economic instability, and so the country may hold free and fair elections free and fair elections in the UK to restore calm, rule of law and democratic governance of the British people. And that's the situation as it stands at the moment in the United Kingdom. We really need to see some regime change out there. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. May God be with you. I want to say a big thank you to whoever sent me that link, because I wouldn't have seen it otherwise. That was from Brazil Wire. And that was an article, if UK media wrote about the UK like it does Latin America. I'll leave the link to it below. That wasn't hyperbole. I don't think it was. If you look at how our media have been writing about Venezuela, well, Latin America over the decades, but now with Venezuela, and how slanted their coverage of it is, that is the equivalent if they did it with the UK government back home. That's what an article would look like in The Guardian or The Telegraph. That's what it would look like. And that's the state of our media. Brilliant from Brazil Wire. Thank you so much to whoever sent me that link. I'm sorry I haven't got your information at hand. If you tell me in the comments it was you, I'll pin you. Thanks very much for that. But that article perfectly, in my opinion, describes just how propagandized the British and the US public are as well, because they're doing the same. How propagandized they are with regards to South America and the situation in Venezuela at the moment, because it's built on, flimsy facts, but they go all out to smear and to slander and to distort those facts any way they can, to paint the leader out as being terrible. The thing is, about that Brazil Wire article, the criticism of Theresa May in it is actually accurate, whereas in the UK's press, the criticisms of Maduro are often quite far from the truth. So in many cases, that Brazil Wire article is more close to the truth than I'd previously thought. Let me know what you think in the comments. I thought that was great. I'll leave a link below. Please share that as wide as possible. I think it was fantastic. But as far as that's the way the media are treating us, you know what to do if you want to fight back. For more truly honest, independent media like the video you just saw, please subscribe and click the bell below as well so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. If you also like and share and comment on the video as well, that really helps with the algorithm and boosts exposure. And if you can support me, please do so. You can do with any of the avenues on the screen at the moment and below this video. You can support me for as little as $1 a month on Patreon, and every dollar helps. We need your support at the moment. We do not have an operating fourth estate. I'm sure you're aware a functioning media holding power accountable is vital for democracy. At the moment, we haven't got it. So people like me are having to fill their shoes and do the job for them with your support. Thanks very much for your support. Till next time. Peace and take care.